Welcome to the ACE show, everyone. Right? This is where we help professionals thrive both professionally and personally. This is where I get a chance to showcase experts, or what I like to call aces in their field, and we can leverage that knowledge to support you all in the ACE community. So I'm glad that you're here. There's a quote by Herman Hesse. It says, "Our sorrows and wounds are healed only when we touch them with compassion." And I really feel this kind of sets up our guest speaker for today. I get to introduce you to a friend of mine, colleague, Abby Marks Beale. Hi, Abby. How are you?
Hi, David. Good to see you. It's been a while.
Yeah. Oh, it's been a while.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that you're here. Thank you for agreeing to come on. For those of you who don't know Abby, she's got quite the background. She is the founder of Homeopathy. Oh gosh, listen to this. My mouth.
You'll
She is
get it. You'll get
yeah,
it. I'm not worried.
eventually I'll get it. Yes. So for those of you who haven't met Abby, she is the founder of Homeopathy Healings Consulting. She is the lead author of the book Homeopathy Primer. You even have, I think, like a workbook that ties to that as well. You
Mhm.
show us, yeah, show us this. Yeah, there we go.
Mhm.
Nice. It's a big, thick book for getting started with
Yeah.
homeopathy.
Yep. Mhm.
In her past life, she was also a speed reading expert and author
Mhm.
of, and I actually have one of her books, and maybe you have them with you, but 10
Mm.
Days to Faster Reading. And then there
Mhm.
was another book called Speed Reading, the
Mhm.
little known time saving superpower, which is actually a redone version of this. Yeah, there we go. Complete Idiot's Guide. That's right. That's right. And so
Yeah.
I met Abby. I met you. Boy, oh boy. Let's just say years ago
Yeah.
when I was at Freedom Personal Development, and we were
Mm.
teaching memory training and maybe some goals and things like that. But you came in and you brought your Rev It Up reading course and your package and your training to us, and then I was able to start teaching some of that. But
Mhm.
it's really funny. I taught memory training. It doesn't mean I'm great at memorizing things if I don't put the work in. And so
Mhm.
there's some speed reading techniques that I still recall, but I'd love to chat with you more about that. You did that for
Mm.
36 years. So I'd love to
Yeah.
talk about both of those if possible. Would you mind?
No, not at all. I would love to.
Oh, great.
Both of my passions.
Yeah, well, this is great. Well, so let's start with that. Like, how did you
Yeah.
get to where you are now? Right? I know it could be a
Mm.
long story, but like, tell us a little bit about the journey that you took to get to where you are with the homeopathy
Sure.
practice.
So I can certainly preface it by saying I would never be a homeopath if I didn't have good reading skills because being a homeopath, my bookshelves are massively filled now with homeopathy books because in homeopathy we talk about the small dose, the minimal dose, but when it comes to reading it's as many books as you possibly could fit in your space. There's
Yes,
just so many
yes.
of them. And so because I had these skills that, the speed reading skills that I was teaching and that I was able to use myself. And by the way, I think you remember this, David, I used to hate to read. So all through high school, even through college, I was the kind that would like never read the assignments. And if I did, I'd read it and reread it and still not understand it. And it was just really tedious. And
Yeah.
so I kind of transformed what I was doing into understanding that there is a better way. And I found this way. So I learned it and then began teaching it and writing about it and was an amazing career for quite a long time. And I enjoyed it
I'm
very
really,
much.
really, yeah. I'm really grateful that I got to learn from you on that, and then I got to teach others how to do the same. So
Yeah. Are you
that's
still
great.
using the skills? I should ask.
I'm using some of them, yes, yeah,
Okay.
and so I would love to talk a little bit more about those, but, yeah, I mean, the whole
Sure.
idea of eye span and exercises that you can increase eye span.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now
All
you're in
kinds of things.
homeopathy, right? And
Yeah.
you mentioned a little bit about minimal. Could you just
Minimal dose.
tell us a little bit about homeopathy, right?
Sure. I'll first start with how I got into it because this
Yeah,
is
that'd be great.
because so many people haven't even heard of the word homeopathy or they say it's homopathy or something like that. And that's okay as long as they get, the right thing.
I got the
So
right idea.
when my son was 9 months old, my first son was 9 months old, he had ear infections, tons of ear infections, at least it seemed that way, and he had tons of antibiotics. After about 7 antibiotics, the doctor said, "We need to look at tubes." And that's a common thing for, a doctor to do, and I was just like, "There's gotta be a better way. I don't want my kid to go through surgery if I don't have to." So I started looking around, and it was my own mother actually who got into natural healing late in life said, "Have you taken him to a homeopath?" And I was like, no, I didn't even know there was such a thing. And she explained to me, this is what they do. And so go find one. And so this is before the internet. I looked in my yellow pages and found a couple, thankfully, in my state and picked one. They're all about an hour away. And brought my son, spent 90 minutes with this homeopath who asked some wild questions, wanted to know things about my son that nobody ever asked, and then gave him a minimal dose, gave him like 2 or 3 little sugar pellets, literally, put him under in his mouth. His ear infection went away and it never came back.
Wow.
Yeah. There was one of those like, huh, that was interesting moments. And then if he got sick again a few months later, I brought him back to the homeopath. He gave him a couple little pellets. He got better. And I'm like, what is this? Like, I had no idea what this was. And so my curiosity started. That was 1996. And so by the year 2000, I said, I really want to learn. So I went to a little conference, did a basic course, and I'm like, wow, this is really cool. And then by 2003, I registered in a homeopathic school and took, while I was doing my speed reading, I was still studying homeopathy. And by 2013, I became nationally certified
Okay.
doing it, and I still was doing speed reading, but, I was building my homeopathic practice at that time too. So it's just been a wild adventure, but I would never have wanted to be a homeopath if I didn't have good learning skills at all.
And so I know that homeopathy also talks about addressing the root cause. And so maybe just
Mhm.
give us a little overview of what is homeopathy and what does it maybe mean to address the root cause? Like maybe would that be a good place to start, you think?
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure,
okay.
sure. I'll do my best to explain it. I've been practicing this because people ask me that question quite a bit. So, with homeopathy, what is homeopathy? Homeopathy, I think, is the coolest medicine on the planet. It's non toxic, it's inexpensive, it resonates with a person's healing response. No one dies from taking homeopathic medicine, unlike conventional medicine. You don't have to take antibiotics, which we need to take less because of antibiotic resistance.
Mhm.
And so, what homeopathy really is energy medicine. It's energy of natural substances like plants and minerals and animals. Those are the main substances, right? And
Mhm.
so, if we wanted to, let's say, help someone with seasonal allergies, so homeopathy is very individualized. It's not like, okay, I have a room full of people that have allergies. I give them all the same thing. Like, I'm going to give them all Zyrtec, I'm going to give them all Claritin. No, how that person experiences their allergies is what makes it unique. So, you want to know what are their symptoms? Is their nose running? And if it is, what color is coming out? How often? Are you sneezing? Does your throat hurt? Does it go to your chest? Are your eyes tearing? Do you have a headache with it? Are your ears buzzing? Like, you want every detail of that ailment for that person
Mhm.
because the remedies are tailored individually for those symptoms. Some people like to drink cold water, some people like warm water. Some people find they only sneeze in the morning, some people sneeze at night. Some people have a stuffed up nose, at night, and during the day it runs freely. And so all these different things that a person needs to know and observe about themselves is what we work with. And then
And
we
I
match
imagine,
it
oh,
to a
yeah.
remedy. Go
Yeah, and
ahead.
so you're saying you're asking more questions than the standard clinical practice, right? I mean, this reminds me of naturopathic. A
Mhm,
friend of mine was a naturopathic doctor, and they ask, I don't know how many questions. I mean, before
mhm.
I went and I would volunteer from time to time to be one of the guinea pigs for the students that were learning at Bastyr.
Okay.
And they would ask me before they got to any sort of solution or any sort of kind of next step. I mean, probably 20, 30, just so many questions to really get a
Mhm.
better sense. And so I'm wondering, is homeopathy part of naturopathic medicine or is it just the similar philosophies where let me find out because I need to really
Mm,
tailor what kind of diagnosis or what kind of regimen you need to follow based on what I'm hearing in those answers. Whereas I go to the doctor like stuffed up nose. Okay, well let's give you the spray. Oh,
right.
that's it? Nothing else? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, what if I have a bad reaction to the spray, or what if that's anyways? So I'm rambling now, but I think you
No,
get my
you're
point.
not. It's perfect. So there is always a confusion between naturopathy and homeopathy. So I have a naturopath. I think naturopaths do some amazing work. They help keep your immune system strong. They give you supplements and herbs and nutritional advice. They can do testing. Some naturopaths learn homeopathy, but they don't typically do it the way that like I would do it, which is more holistically in that,
Mhm.
as a naturopath, they don't have time to do everything in their appointments, right? So if somebody comes in with headaches, they'll kind of tease out what specific kind of headache is it, and here's a remedy to try. Whereas I
Mhm.
look at the person who has the headache. And so my appointments are 2-hour intakes, which
Okay.
is, I think naturopath typically is an hour, which is still lovely compared to what most people have.
That's right,
Right.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and so a lot of naturopaths, they don't jump into the world of homeopathy because it is so different and so involved in comparison too, but they can, and they do get some exposure to it.
Who are your typical clients? Like, or do you work with businesses? Do you mostly focus on
Mm.
individuals? Or I mean, I could
It
imagine what a great way for a company to bring in someone like yourself to offer sessions and trainings on this content.
mhm.
Companies, if their employees are healthy, right, then they're spending less money on insurance. Or
I've never entertained the idea of working at a business. It's usually an individual. A person has to be ready.
yeah.
And a lot of times, sadly, they're ready because they've already gone through the conventional medical system. They're taking all kinds of medications and they're still miserable. And they're like, I can't do this anymore. I need to find another way. And
Uh-huh.
so we get people after they've gone through all that, where I wish someday they come to us first before they have to go that way. But for right now, this is just the way it is. So people come for all different kinds of reasons, usually because they just want to do something more natural if they can, or they're just fed up with the current way that they're being treated.
Yeah.
So that's typically who we get. And it's typically women, but I would say it's probably like 85% women and 15% men. And we also get families too. I
Yep.
love
Yep.
families. Yeah.
Well, I think women generally are
Mm.
are gonna be more open to that,
Mm.
and they're also the ones who do the research on it more often than a man's gonna do, so we don't even notice, you know? So,
I'm
I get
sorry, but you're right.
yeah, no, I'm yeah, that's true. I also, I'm also kinda like, "I don't get sick, I don't need nothing, I'm gonna survive," and then, then I
Hmm.
collapse in a coughing fit for days because I didn't handle the root cause or the challenges.
Yeah.
So
Right.
this is great. I love our chat about this. Let's backtrack. How would someone new to the world of homeopathy begin their journey? Like, how would someone
Mm.
new, after maybe hearing this, how could they maybe, what's a nice dipping your toe in kind of thing? Does something come to mind?
So what I tell people, and I just was at an expo this past weekend, and people were just really intrigued. So you could just like even go to my website or the Homeopathy Primer website. We have some podcasts that are up there that people have been interviewing where we do in depth about what is homeopathy, how does it work, what do
Uh
people
huh.
need to know. So it just kind of familiarizes people with it. The next, of course, not of course, but this is the book that I have worked on for the past 6 years called Homeopathy Primer, getting started with homeopathy, because I think I love homeopathy and I want more and more people to come into the fray. And
Yeah.
this book is so easy to learn from. It's like a reference book, it's a study guide. And it also, so you'd mentioned about the fact that some people are really nervous when they are speaking
Uh
and
huh.
they have stress, right? So we have in this book, one of the chapters is on mind and emotions. And I don't know if you can see this, but here's a chart
Wow.
with remedies. So aconite, apis, argentum nitricum, gelsemium pulsatilla, and rus tox
Uh
are
huh.
ones that could be used specifically for fears
Huh.
and frights, but each one is different. Gelsemium is one that typically comes in when people are just afraid of public speaking. You have people who might want to, aconite is for people, I call it the holy crap fear. I can't do it. It's scary.
Uh huh.
Those kinds of visceral reactions. So aconite is a great remedy for that. And then there's argentum nitricum. These are people typically that get some diarrhea before they speak. So there's different ways that people experience their fears and anxieties about
Huh.
speaking.
So that
So
question you brought up was during our conversation prior to starting the call. But
yeah.
yes, I coach a lot of people who have high levels of stress, and it's not just
Okay.
business stress, but particularly around the presentations, right?
Yes.
And so thank you for
Hmm.
bringing that up
Yeah.
because I think,
Yeah.
I offer some physical and mental things that they can do, but then there's also some homeopathic remedies or solutions that they can apply as well to help. And you just gave some really good examples. I love that. Thank
Right.
you.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit more about that. It sounds like the inspiration
Mhm.
for the book was how did you? I mean, that's a big book. There's a lot of words in that book, and there's a lot of stuff, and that's a lot of
There's
research.
some amazing stuff, and it's a very unique book in that it really has pretty much anything and everything that a person would need. Now, this is for acute situations. So an acute situation is something that kind of comes on suddenly, like you're going to be speaking soon, that comes on suddenly. You get stung by a bee, you burn your hand on the stove, you fall down
Uh-huh.
and you know, bruised your elbow, got in a car accident, had dental surgery, all these different things that come on a little bit more suddenly versus things that you've had your whole life. Maybe you've had
Uh-huh.
irritable bowel syndrome, or you've had migraines your whole life, or not for you, but heavy periods or something like that. That's
Yep.
chronic stuff. And that's the kind of thing that someone would go to a homeopath for.
I see.
Yeah,
I
so
see.
that's a difference. But I wanted you to see this is a kit. This is a homeopathic kit that someone can buy online. This is Helios
Uh-huh.
Homeopathy. There are 36 remedies. And I want to show you what the remedies look like because people have no idea. This is what they look like. They're these small, all these vials with all different things. They all look the same, but they're all labeled differently with these sugar pellets inside. It's what's been put on top of them is what makes it so unique.
Uh-huh.
So if person goes to a regular store, here we have what used to be Whole Foods, but Sprouts or Wegmans. Here is what a remedy would look like in the store. It's called a Blue Tube. That
Oh.
Boiron, Boiron. It's a wonderful company here from France that they have this, and they do it over the counter. They sell these in 30C potency. You see the 30C. I carry arnica with me because inevitably someone needs it. It's like, man, I just fell down and bruised my knee, or I hit my head, or they just had a car accident, or it's great with kids when they're playing soccer and they get, kicked in the shin and it's really sore, or basketball got hit in the head, whatever.
Uh-huh.
Arnica, arnica. This is the gateway drug into homeopathy because everybody gets bumps and bruises and stuff, and or they've shoveled too much snow, or they've
Like
overexerted in
sore
the
muscles,
garden.
shoes kind of thing as well? Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I took this when I had a C-section with my son, and I didn't need painkillers. It was
Oh my
amazing.
gosh.
I was sore. I was sore as heck, but I was
Yeah,
not
of
in
course.
pain. Yeah. So
And
having a book,
the amount that you take at a specific time is different based
usually
on
usually just like 2 pellets, and so when
Uh-huh.
you use these, you just turn the bottom of the cap, you dislodge it. I don't know if you can see it, and there's
Yep,
little pellets there, and
I
then you
see
just
that.
stick them under your tongue to dissolve. You never take it with water because it's trying to get into your mucosal lining, and they all
I see.
taste good because 'cause they're all on a sugar pellet, so
Okay, I
it's
see.
easy to give to a kid.
Oh, yeah, sugar, of
Yeah.
course.
Maybe you'll do Wembley the Pug Takes Homeopathy.
Oh, there we go, I like that, that's
I
right, for
like
my
that
children's
too.
book series. I like it,
There
I'll
you
add it to
go.
my list.
Yes.
Well, in your book, you even you just touched about this. It says you share ideas to treat acute ailments, right?
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
so one is like the arnica for bruises and injuries and, maybe, yeah, it sounds like sore muscles, bruises, like
After surgeries, anything black
yes.
and blue, you get hit in the eye by something, and you're sore, so that could also be arnica's great for that.
And these are things that
Everything.
you can get over the counter, right? Are there any specific tips or understanding that obviously this is in no way a diagnosis
Mm.
that you can offer for, or maybe, and let me rephrase it this, what are the most common acute issues and what tips might you have for certain things? Like I read a post in your LinkedIn about eye issues or
Mhm.
joint problems or digestive issues. You mentioned irritable bowel syndrome.
Mm.
Is it pretty much, yeah, I mean, it's the same thing. It's the sugar pills, correct?
Right, but they're called sugar pills because that's what's dumped on them. So let me explain a little bit how a remedy
Yeah,
is
thank you.
made. Yeah, I think it would be helpful because people are like, "What do you mean the sugar pills?" And they all look the same. I have thousands in my
I'm
office. I
gonna
have
go eat
thousands of
a candy
remedies.
bar, and I'll just call that a sugar pill. Does that work? No.
That's called placebo.
Oh,
Then
there we go.
that's what they call it. So let's just say that you come to me and you're just really having trouble sleeping, you have insomnia, you have some diarrhea, you have heart palpitations, maybe you're overthinking things, just really having a hard time just calming yourself down and you don't know why. And so you come to me with that and I would look at a remedy that kind of mimics that in its crude form, which is coffee. If somebody has too much coffee or too much caffeine, their heart could be racing, they could be insomniacs, they could have their mind is going, they could have diarrhea. And so all of those symptoms can be helped with a remedy called Caffea cruda made from coffee. So let's just say I have 30 cups of water in front of me that are 99% full, all right? And I'm going to take one drop of coffee. I take a coffee cup and I take a dropper and I take one drop and I put it into my first cup. And not only do I stir it, but I close the cup and I shake it really hard. I pound it like 10 times and it activates the water so that there's energy in that water And when I'm done doing it 10 times, that becomes a 1 centesimal or 1C potency. And then we take 1 drop of that 1C cup. We don't go back to the coffee anymore. We go to the next cup. We take a drop of that, go to the next cup, do it again, take another, to do it again. You get to 2C and 3C and 4C until you get up to 30C.
Okay.
So there's nothing left of the material substance. There's no coffee left. Excuse me. So then you take a dropper and you drop it onto these pellets, the liquid that's been energized onto the pellets to give you.
30C version, you take that and drop that liquid from the yeah.
That's what a homeopathic pharmacist would do.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a long process.
Oh, that's nothing. I have remedies in my office that are 200C, 1000C, 10,000C. Yeah,
Oh.
there's a lot, but you don't have the general public do that because there's definitely something to those more
Mhm.
so than 30C and under. So
Sure.
that's why over the counter you can get 6C, 12C, or 30C.
I see. So, silly question. What if I'm a smoker? I'm not, but what if I smoke?
Yeah.
Is there and I wanna quit?
Okay.
Would they just take essence of cigarette and kind of drop it through and then do that? Or like how or the nicotine, I guess, is probably what it is?
So
Similar principle?
we have a remedy called tobacco that can be used as a way to fortify a person. There's other remedies as well, but not so much available to the general public. There are
I
things
see.
that I would use to help with the addiction to the tobacco, for the smoke, and for the smoking. Yeah.
And that would be on a individual basis on what they're looking for based on those many questions you ask to find out where they're coming
Exactly. You
from
got
and
it.
how do and so before I'm gonna give you any of that suggestion, it's probably not just the sugar pill with the many
The
cc's, it's
remedy.
also
It's
the
the
remedy.
remedy. Yeah.
It's probably there might be some other steps in the process too, probably, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, wow, okay. It
Yeah.
sounds like you like it.
Sounds like what?
It sounds like you like what you're doing.
I absolutely love it. I do. I think,
What's
like I
your
said,
favorite part about it?
I think it's the coolest medicine on the planet. I love educating people. As you know, I've always liked educating people. But when somebody gets an aha moment where they took a remedy, so here, let's say somebody has food poisoning, right? They have, I call that 2 exits, no waiting, right? They're really miserable. And they happen to have a homeopathic kit with them, and either them or somebody who's with them figures out a remedy that most matches their symptoms. And after they take the remedy, within just a few minutes, it's like the faucets are turned off and they're really starting to realize, okay, I'm good now. It's not going to happen anymore. And so when it happens, it can happen within 5 to 10 minutes when it's the right remedy in an acute situation. And people go, wow, that was amazing. Because
Hmm.
there's really nothing else that somebody would do or have or take. But these remedies can work that fast when they're chosen well
Mm,
and in these kinds of situations. So,
wow.
especially those Saturday night, it's always inevitable. The kid gets sick on Saturday night, and then you're calling the pediatrician or you call your homeopath, and the homeopath gives you a remedy. But if you don't have a kit at home, you have to wait till the store is open. If they're open on Sunday, or you have to wait till Monday, it's like, and then the kid's suffering. But if you have a book and a kit at home, you've got something to play with. And if you
Uh-huh.
give a wrong remedy, nothing happens. So
That's right.
it's not like you're taking, Tylenol, then you're taking Motrin, then you're taking Aleve, and then no, it's not like that at all.
I see.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. That's why I love it. It's so cool. So cool,
Yeah.
David.
And I didn't realize
Mm,
you had been doing it for so long. I mean, we had
mm,
worked together with the speed reading for a couple years. And this was in
mm.
2000, I want to say 2008,
8.
9,
I think it
2010.
was 8 or so. Yeah, somewhere in
Yeah.
there. I was still
And
doing it then. Yeah, I was doing it then.
well, and you said it was in like the 90 something, 96, 97 or something. You started the process or you
Mhm.
started your journey.
I was
Yeah.
exposed in 1996, but then it was 2003 when I joined homeopathic school.
Okay. So you've been doing it for 5 years then.
Mm,
And then
mm.
several years later, now you've created your own practice and you've really honed your craft and
Mm,
your skills and your understanding and your
mm.
ability to have those counseling sessions or conversations or whatever. I'm not
Consulting.
sure.
It's
Consulting
consulting.
sessions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And yeah, wow. This is great. So if someone just simply just would reach out to you, I can't wait to talk a little bit more about how
Mhm.
people can connect with you. But I do want to shift to speed reading, even just a little bit.
Sure, go ahead.
I know that's in your past, but It can
It's
never
alright.
leave you. I think you'll
It's
always
there.
have it. But
It's there, go ahead.
so I was really fascinated. I remember sitting in our first class when you came to Freedom
Wisconsin. It was in
in
Wisconsin,
Wisconsin.
I think.
That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, Madison, right next to, I think it was called Freedom Way, I think is the name of the street.
Yeah, it was. I think so,
Yeah,
yeah.
and, Freedom Personal Development was perfect name. And so but you came in and this was actually during in a hotel room, I think.
Mhm.
You taught us the speed reading, and I remember
Mhm.
I don't remember my exact time, but I feel like I
Mm,
doubled my within just a day, I doubled my technique, my speed reading
mm,
technique, like the
mhm.
speed and how I with just a handful of simple exercises. And there was also for comprehension, right? So there's a difference about
Yeah,
writing fast and then
right.
actually comprehending. But I
Mhm,
was able to, some people did it triple, quadruple, but for
mm,
me to actually understand it, double. And I was fired up to, I think it was like 200 words at first and then went to 400 or
mhm.
maybe somewhere around there, which
It's
I was
awesome.
fired up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a good response.
How did you get involved in speed reading? And let's talk about it. How did you do, how did that happen? I mean, you've been doing it for 36 years.
Right, yeah. So, it was a time after I graduated college. I had already worked for a couple of years outside, and I was like, "I'm not finding my path. I need to get out." I was in Boston at the time. I said, "I just need to go somewhere. I wanna travel, I want some more experience." And so I found this job from a company called READAC, READAK, where they taught kids in private schools speed reading and study skills, but I didn't know that at the time. All I said in the ad was, "Must have a degree and a car and willingness to travel." And I was like, that's me. I
I
don't know
have all
what this
those.
is, whatever. And then when I went and I did the interview and found out it was speed reading, I was like, 'cause I hated to read, remember? And
Uh-huh,
I was
uh-huh.
like, "How could this be that I'm here learning speed reading and I hate to read?" It was like divine intervention, I guess. So then I said, "Alright, they train you in it." And I was like, "Alright, I'll take the job. You wanna hire me? Great, I'll do it." So that's how it started, is I started working with kids in private schools for 2.5 years with them. And
Uh-huh.
then it was like, "Wait a minute, it's not just kids who need this, it's adults that need this." And so I asked them if they wanted an adult division and they said no. I was like, "Okay, then I'll do it myself."
Yeah.
So I did. So I started my own company to do
And is
speed
that
reading for
is that how
adults.
Rev It Up Reading came about, or was it
Mm.
a maturation before Rev It Up Reading came? Was it like
So
speed
the
reading
original
for adults?
company was called, The Reading Edge. That was the name until 2005. I changed it to Rev It Up Reading. So
Okay.
it was The Reading Edge from 1988 until 2005, and then it was Rev It Up Reading from 2005 to 2025.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so now
Mhm,
I love that story from I hate reading. It's not my I mean,
mhm.
I didn't really read a full non-required book until I think my first year of college,
Mm.
and I read it, and
Mhm.
actually, it's so funny, I have it right here. It's called
What
Now Is
book?
Your Time to Win.
Oh, that's a great one to read.
Th
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
one that one and I don't have it with me, but is The Greatest Salesman in the World. Those 2
Yeah,
books I read, the first
yeah.
non-required school, any kind of book outside of that. And so, I'm with you
Love
as
it.
far as, like, I don't really like I didn't really like to read all that much.
Mhm.
But, well, in your book, The 10 Days to
Mhm.
Faster Reading, you actually discuss, and I'd love if you wouldn't mind maybe just sharing
Mm.
some tips, but how you can cut your reading time in half.
Yeah.
If you recall, I know that it's been a couple years since you've really went out there and what I can't imagine you recall, but
I remember everything.
how do
It's
you do it? How
36
do you
years of doing it over and over and over and over.
how do you cut your time in half? Because I believe it now. I believe you. It happened.
Mm.
So it's
Mhm.
happened.
It can.
Tips?
So reading should be a very intentional process, and people don't look at it that way. So before you start reading, you ask yourself, "Why am I reading this thing?" And you gotta answer the question with a good answer. And then what is it that you need to get from it? So it's not like you have to read every word because it's there, but it's like, "I'm reading this because I wanna learn how to sell better. I'm reading this because I wanna learn how to upgrade my skills in speaking." So you have your own objective. So if in the book there's something that is superfluous, like the history of public speaking, and you're going, well, that's nice, but I really don't want to know that. I want to know what's in it for me. So let me
Uh,
skip through that chapter really quickly or not even read it because it's not useful to me, so that you don't have to read everything just because it's there. So being
right.
very discerning, I think, is one of the easiest things. Every time you're reading something, this is not what I want. It's not getting me where I need to go. Then don't read it. You don't have to.
Yeah, people get hung up on that. It's like I feel like it doesn't count as reading the book if I
Yeah.
skim over a chapter.
No,
But
it
I think
does. It does. It really
yes.
does. It's like you're reading it for you, not for the author,
Yeah. Well, and you
for sure.
said, I mean, I remember now it's coming back. Some of the stuff's coming
Mm,
back. I
mm,
remember, and it's amazing. I need to do that because there's a couple books I need to apply this to. But if I
mm,
wanted to read this chapter on accepting your situation, but that didn't really
mm,
sound great, what I can do is I can read the first sentence I think you talk about, and then the
mhm.
last sentence of that paragraph, and that gives me a sense about it, right? Is that right? Or
I
how does
did
that
just
work?
I taught just the first. So in that case, I would read just the first paragraph or 2 of the introduction, and then I would start reading just the first sentence of each paragraph.
There we go. I
That's it,
see.
because that's where main ideas are typically held, and it'll give you the writer's outline in nonfiction work, not in fiction, but in nonfiction.
Right. And so
Right.
then you can decide, okay, well, this is actually, I actually want to read more now. I want to read
Yeah.
more for understanding. I can go back and read it, but you can
Correct.
cut your time in half if you're just understanding what the goal is. You're
Mhm,
discerning about the chapters and the things, the content you read, as long as it's in line with your goal. It's
mhm.
okay to skip a chapter.
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
okay to skip a section if it's just, okay, that's not what, and it still counts as reading.
Yeah,
It still
it
counts.
does. It totally does. Yes. Yeah. I think
Let's,
when people can do that and they realize like, "Wait a minute, I don't have to read everything." Like, "No, I give you full permission to skip things, not just jump over it, but to skip it and to, avoid it whenever possible." And it's okay. And then when you're done, close the book and go, "I read it, even though I only maybe read 3/4 of it or a quarter of it. It doesn't matter. It fit
yeah,
my objective."
that's right. That's right. Well, and
You asked about ISPAN. I know you wanted to know about ISPAN, about how to see more words
I
at a
span,
glance.
yes. So this,
ISPAN, right?
it was interested in specific exercises that we could follow to help,
Mhm,
because I think a lot of speed reading from what I learned
mhm.
too is also increasing that I span. So maybe explain what
Oh.
I span is, and then what are some things, and like what's the purpose of kind of understanding that maybe, and then what are some exercises that we can do to increase that, because
Mhm.
the more words we can read, so the more we'll take in, I imagine, at a time.
The faster you could read too.
Yes, there you go. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, yeah. So your eye span is what you see when you look down on the page, and most people have between 4 to 8 words or letters or not words, but letters or spaces that they can look at when they look straight down it. So you could take a text and look down and stare at a word, keep staring at the word and see how far wide can you go with your eyes without it getting blurry. And so that would
Mm,
be your eye span. Now, if this is your eye span, then you're stuck like this. But if you can learn how to expand it, you can do that by saying, I'm going to look for the words that have the most importance, and they're usually 3 or 4 letters in length and longer. So the words that are the, and, if, to, for, those you don't need to spend your time on. You can find the words that have more meaning, which end up being kind of like the outline of or a headline of a newspaper. Like politicians, gosh, I got to be careful with what I say here. Politicians excite
their base.
masses in Washington, something like
Yeah.
that, instead of the politicians are exciting the masses in
Yeah.
Washington. So you're basically trying to read the key words, and when you do that, you're able to still hear the words in your head because a lot of people still subvocalize, but you're only finding what's most important, so you are reading faster.
Yeah, yeah. Well, because
Yeah,
you're getting the gist of the
right.
conversation too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, what else? Is there any other techniques that you do when you're trying to read through?
I like, and my favorite one is the blank white card. So if
Yes.
you take a white card, let me see if I have, yeah, like a
Something like
blank white
this?
card. Yep, like that. Or even like a business card, like look at the back side of a business
Y-
card.
Yep.
And I ask, you remember this? You ask people, where would you want to put this if you're going to read with it? And most people say under the words they're reading. And the problem with that is that it's blocking where you're going. So where you want to put the card is above so that it forces you to push down instead of,
Uh-huh.
and it covers what you've already seen so that it really takes out a lot of that ability to go backwards, to regress, to go backwards. And so reading with a white card is phenomenal as long as it's above the words that you're reading.
Right. And you can pick the pace at how fast the card goes, right?
Right.
And so you start
Hmm.
at a real slow pace, and then as you get more comfortable, and
It'll
your
go
eye span
faster.
increases, and and your trust and your ability to comprehend increases, you
Yes.
can pick up the pace. And so that was one of the things, actually, it's so funny you say that. That was, I need to get back to that because that was, it was a really useful tool to doing that. And I, forced my brain to have to pick it. And when you tell your brain we're gonna go this fast, it I don't know
Mhm.
what the psychology in this is and how this works, but your brain goes, I guess that's how we want to work. I gotta strengthen, I gotta get faster, I gotta pick up more words. It's like
Mm,
challenging yourself to go just a little bit faster than it's comfortable
yeah.
and trust that the comprehension will be there. And
Mhm.
so, I mean, for me, it was a fine line between I wanted to be fastest one in our group. I wanted to be the fastest one.
You're just competitive. Yeah,
And
okay.
that's right. It's the
Yeah,
competitive side of me.
yeah.
And then when I got the test, I was like, crap, I failed miserably. So then
Oh,
I have to be honest with myself. I have to slow down for me. I can't go as fast as Jim over here or Tom or Roger or, or Leah. They're just faster right now, And so,
you can't compare
just
yourself to anyone else. You only can compare yourself to yourself. So once you know what your own reading speed is to start, then you kind of can compare it to that, not the person next to you. Yeah.
how do we figure out our, like, what is our reading time? Like, how do we figure that out?
Oh, I don't have my website anymore, but you can certainly get a copy of 10 Days to Faster Reading. And even though the book was printed in 2001, there's still a lot of valuable tips and ideas in there. And
Yep.
you can, each chapter has a timed exercise. So if you follow the instructions, you do the exercise, you answer the questions, you will be able to get your words per minute and comprehension that way.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, or you could just read a chapter, you go here, you read one page and time it,
you could do
possibly,
that. But
and
you
then you
want
figure out how many
comprehension
word
too. You want
I guess
comprehension
that's
too.
true.
Otherwise,
That's
it's
true.
speed looking.
Speed looking, there we go, that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's not speed reading.
it's not speed reading. That's really Do you have any cool stories of customers or clients who, besides my story, obviously
Yeah,
doubling my reading speed, besides that, I
yeah.
mean, is that just kind of routine? People say, "Oh, I tripled it, I quadrupled it,
Mhm.
and, now I'm reading 30 books a week." I mean, maybe not that many, but
I think the challenge people had was to keep what they had what they learned in the class, because certainly I was there, I was coaching them, but they did it and they had to remember what it is that worked for them and then to apply it in their real world. So that it depended with that. I do remember one guy in particular, his name was Michael, and he came to me because he just was like, I really want to go to business school, but I'm so daunted by all the books that I have to read. And I really am a slow reader. And so the bottom line is, he and I worked together. Built some confidence, he built some competence. And then he ended up going to the Wharton School of Business.
oh,
It was
wow.
amazing. Yeah. And he's doing incredibly well right now. And I'm just so proud of him because, I think, he wanted to and he really took it to heart and he really worked at it and he did what he wanted to do. So, yeah, reading
Y
shouldn't prevent people from doing things at all, you know?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's a cool story. Same thing, it's just like when we taught memory training or any
Yeah.
you need to have someone who's genuinely interested in making, you
Mhm.
could teach a session for a day and
Mhm.
then they're gone and then they're on their
Mhm.
own, and so it requires that. And I
Mhm.
am guilty of this, is that I stopped practicing the speed reading techniques, which is
Mm.
why I'm now remembering the things that you talked about and not having implemented them in the same way. I
Mm.
am faster. I remember, though, here's a story for you. I
Yeah.
remember I was on a flight on the way home one day. This was years ago, and there was a book I think called Grain Brain,
Mm.
um, that someone was reading, and I was sitting there and I was like, "Oh, that's a cool book." And he says, "Yeah, well, here, you want it?" And he just gave it to me. And on that 2.5-hour flight, I read the entire book. I
Mm.
don't recall it now. I read it entire using the techniques, the
Okay.
car, sentence, paragraph, and then I went back for reading, and I did the entire book. I read it, and I handed it back to him with about 30 minutes left in the flight, and he's like, "You're done reading it?" "Oh, yeah, I love that chapter on this and this and this." I don't recall
Mm.
it now, but I remember at the time, I recalled a lot of that information,
Yeah.
and that was one of the most joyful, confidence-building moments that I
I love it.
had. I was so fired up that I was able to, because
That's great.
it takes me hours and hours and hours and days to
Mm.
read books, so it's not as inspiring to wanna read it because, "Oh, okay, I have to slog through these books." But I said,
Mhm.
"Let's see how fast I can do it for understanding." I was so I do have
Yeah.
to I think about you often, and
That's
that
sweet.
moment, I thought about Abby would be really proud of me, and I never got to tell you that, so now I'm telling you
Thank you. I'm so proud of
10
you. I
years,
think
12
that's
years later.
awesome. That's a great story. It really is, because that's kind of why I was doing the speed reading training, was not for me, it was so that people would build their confidence so that they would feel like they could do whatever they wanted to do with their reading skills. So,
Now, I think
yeah.
That could be a story for Wembley the Pug, by the way. The Adventures of Wembley the Pug. Wembley learns to speed read.
You
Wembley
don't
reads
want
his
kids
first
speed
book.
reading, though. Kids don't need to speed
Okay,
read.
never mind.
No.
All right, denied. Bad idea. In stand-up comedy, you throw ideas out there and some work and some don't. That was an example of where it didn't work. No.
Yeah.
But that's true. You don't want a child to kind of learn bad ways to just zipping through something. At what
No.
age then is the age to then, what do you think is a great age to start teaching kids some of these techniques? Because they first need to
Mm,
understand what a word is. They need to
mm,
understand the meaning behind the words. They understand the sentences and how they put them together. They need to understand a whole host of things before
mm,
then they top on. Actually, more I'm thinking about, then they
mm.
top on these techniques to accelerate their ability to read. What
So
what age do you think?
I always said around 12 or 13. Once they have a good sight vocabulary, meaning that they look at words, they know what they are and what they mean without having to stop and really think about it, then they're prepared. Once in a while, I've had some precocious children who would take my course. They were like 5th grade or 6th grade, but they had a really good vocabulary. They were
Mhm,
very precocious, but mostly 7th grade, 8th grade, somewhere in there. That and they have to be ready for it for
mm.
sure.
I asked that because I think about my son now because my son is
How old?
going to be 13
Wow.
in 6 days or so.
Wow.
So and he reads. I mean, last night, I literally had to go into the room and say, you know, "You need to go to bed.
Oh, I love that
It's
he's
it's
reading.
it's
Oh my god, don't take
10:15."
that away from him, that's fabulous.
It's not well, he always reads at night, and it's his way to go to bed too, but he loves reading, he reads his stories. He's read more books at this time in his life than I had ever up until college. It's just amazing, like
Wow.
full stories and everything, and so, I do not wanna take that away from him, but he also has to wake up at 5:30 to go to
Uh,
jazz band in the morning, and so I'm trying to protect his
yeah, no,
rest
I
too,
get
but
it.
he's that's the
Yeah,
thing, he's like, I gotta keep reading. I wanna
I know.
read. Can I just this chapter, dad?" And I'm like, "Oh, okay, just
Alright.
you go to bed." And he's so good about it, but,
I
um,
love that he reads. I love that, that's fabulous. That's wonderful that you've instilled that in him and that he knows he can look to reading for pleasure, which is great.
what do we do about my other son who it's literally a chore all the time? I know that my wife sits down with him and
Mm,
reads when it's reading time, so she does her reading and he does his reading, and he seems to kind of do it then.
yeah,
But I mean, he might be more like me when I was a kid,
mm.
and I just really didn't get fired up about reading. But I mean,
How old is
I don't
he? How old is
11. He's
11.
11. And
Okay.
so, how do we yeah, I mean, this is a different topic than speed reading, but it's just like, I really
No, I
wanna
get it.
encourage him to read. I wonder if audiobooks might be good or
It's
I
more about learning. If he wants to learn something, let him find things that he wants to learn about and find reading material on it, or even an audiobook, either one.
yeah.
But I remember my own kids, so now they're 27 and 30. When they were younger, I remember one of them said to me, "Why on earth would I want to read a book?" I remember that, and I was, like, so horrified as, speed reading expert. I'm like, "Because there's some good information in it." And so we just modeled to them. We read the newspaper every day at the table. We would read at night. We read a lot in the house, so that helped. We modeled it. And, by the time my kids went to college, it got to a point where they started to read a book that they chose on their own,
I see.
and then now it's like, I have one that when he moved out, he stole some of our books for his library in his house. He was so and I'm like, "Yay," so don't lose hope. Just keep modeling and encouraging and just letting them to learn what it is that they wanna learn. Don't force stuff down their throat that they don't love unless
Yeah.
you have to
Yeah,
for
yeah.
school, but
Well, I think
yeah.
also then having a hardcover copy that they actually see me reading versus I read a lot on my phone. I'm reading details and
Yeah,
everything on my phone or even on
yeah.
the computer, but maybe I know that one thing I can do is sit down where he
Read a
sees
book,
me actually reading a
physical book.
physical book, right? I
Yeah.
mean, I've got a whole bunch of them all over the place and I'm reading them all the time. I listen to audiobooks too,
Uh,
but yeah, that's a great thank
mm,
you for that. I think I will
mhm.
add that to my when it's reading time for him, I will model I will model
Yeah.
to give him that example. And it's easy to model because I like reading my books, so
Yeah, there you go. That's the best you can do, and then hope for the best as they get older that they turn to it as well because mom and dad did it.
yeah. Is there any homeopathy involved in getting someone to wanna read? I was kidding.
I don't know. That's a really good question. I haven't
If
seen
we
that
put
rubric.
a combination of arnica and a whole bunch of the coffee thing and everything in one little mix, just kidding. I'm just
No,
kidding.
we have things like for people that are dyslexic, not to fix dyslexia, but just if that's part of their picture, there's remedies that include that
What about
specifically.
focus, right? What about focus? Because part of
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like squirrel, squirrel, squirrel. That might be part of what
Mm,
his attention is. Is there anything that you know with regards to homeopathy that
mm,
helps with? You'd have to ask a ton of questions, I'm sure. But yes, in a general, he's ADD when it comes to like the sitting
mm,
down situations, and he has to focus
mhm,
on the one topic. When he finally gets in, he's focused. And it's
mm.
mostly the physical
It's the
activities.
transition from one thing into that, sounds like.
Yeah.
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 Mhm. It's so yeah, we work with people that have distraction disorders like ADD, ADHD for sure. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's because it's common, sadly,
Yeah.
but true.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
so
good. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for
sure.
sharing your wisdom and your experience.
My
Any advice you might have that
I
you'd
got
like
all
to have?
kinds of info. I think really that if people are really wanting to look for more natural ways to treat themselves or to treat their families, to do look into homeopathy and look for podcasts. You could look on my website, you could look at other people's and just get this like homeopathy for mommies is another one. There's some really good basic podcasts so that you can get educated. Consider getting, a copy of Homeopathy Primer because I think it's
Yep.
a great first book and a kit. Get those 2 together, just make it so possible, to learn.
I'll make sure I put the links in. I've got
Oh,
Homeopathy Primer, your
mhm.
site, the books that you have as links, old YouTube page on Rev It Up
Oh
reading
my
because I think that's
gosh,
still
it's so
there.
old. Okay,
But then maybe that kit I think could be really useful, and I'll put that in, and so
yeah.
people can have that.
And also Boiron, the company that has from France, but they're here and they do a lot of over-the-counter things that you can purchase in the stores. One example, this is something a lot of people have seen in the store. It's called Oscillococcinum. This is in your drugstores, it's in your supermarket. It is fantastic for any
That is a
kind of
long name.
I know, I just call it Oscillo, but
Oscillo.
Oscillococcinum, and it looks like this. It's a very pretty box, and it's from Boiron, and it's great to take around flu season. Like, if you're traveling and you wanna not get the flu when you travel, you take some before you travel. If you start to feel ill, you take some. You could take it if you have the flu a couple times a day. It really is it's a great thing over the counter kinda
And the
medicine.
idea is you can take it as a preventative too, as something that can
In
help.
this case, yeah, you can.
It's boosting your immune system or boosting your
Yeah,
ability to fight it off ahead of time. Yeah, that's
yeah.
great.
Yep, yep.
Well, thank you
So,
again so much for
thank
this.
you.
Maybe we'll have another conversation down the road. If I have back problems, I'll have you come on and talk
Yeah,
about
you
that
let
or
me know.
something.
Lumbago. We deal with lumbago all the time.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure you do.
Yep.
Well, I hope this has been helpful for those of you listening. I hope you picked up
Mhm,
at least one or two ideas that can help you as you know, focus on your
yeah,
health and
mm.
reducing the stress in your life, maybe, or maybe it's about speed reading techniques that you can use or you can pass on to your
Mm.
kids, your family, or friends. But I do hope, as I always end these calls with, I hope you have a wonderful week and then I hope you ace your life. Thanks so much.
Love it. Thank you.